Move over to the Mariners, and we finally have baseball games in 2024. The Mariners spring training season has started, and we have a few games to go over. We said it, I believe, the past few years, and we'll say it again. You can't take a ton of stock, per se, in these spring training games. There's only so much that you can judge and criticize, of course, but we might as well look into it. And there are always some bright spots here and there that you can look at as well. So we go over here to the first of the spring training games. The Mariners played. That was back yesterday. Not yesterday, pardon me. February 24th at the Chicago White Sox. The first game of the spring. Traditionally, the Mariners start spring training with a game against the Padres at the Peoria Sports Complex because of those teams both share that facility there. But with the Padres having a little bit of a different schedule to begin the year, the Mariners and the White Sox kicked spring training off, with the Mariners falling to the White Sox on a walk-off by a score of 7-8. Our player of the game, center fielder Jonathan Clase. Clase, 2 hits, 2 runs, and 1 RBI, and was able to cause a little bit of trouble on the base path. His speed is some of the best in the minor leagues, and obviously some of the best in the Mariners system. So really exciting to see Clase put on a show there. There were also a few other different highlights in this game for the Mariners in terms of some of their younger players as well. Tyler Locklear had 3 hits in this game. The guy who's viewed as the next player up at the first base position for the Mariners, an exciting prospect, had a great year with the Everett Aqua Sox. So really interested to see how he pans out throughout spring training and throughout the course of the Major League year as well. And then we go over here to the most recent game, Sunday, February 25th versus the Cleveland Guardians. The Cleveland Guardians that are now led by former Mariners bullpen coach Stephen Vogt. The Mariners would fall in this one by a score of 4-8. So again, I'm not really looking so much at the results of these games, more so at the individual performances. And this one, it was really nice to see Mitch Haniger play in the Mariners uniform again. However you feel about the Fanatics uniforms this year, and what's going on with them, I understand either way, but it's nice to see Mitch back in a Seattle uniform. He got a nice standing ovation from the crowd at the Peoria Sports Complex, and then he hit a home run. He is our player of the game. 1 hit, 1 run, 1 RBI. So nice for Mitch to go out there and make an impact early on, and obviously to do so after getting that ovation as well. So not a ton going on in this game outside of that. Catcher Harry Ford did have a nice play after he came in to relieve Cal Raleigh. He was able to throw out someone trying to steal second base, and he did so on his knees, which isn't something really that catchers do quite often. So it'll be really interesting to see Harry as well. He had a great year with the Aqua Sox this past season, really working on his eye at the plate and avoiding strikeouts. And for him to be able to make that play, just improving his defensive efforts as well, it's really exciting to see. So that's all we've got when it comes to games. You know, like I said, you can only take so much stock in spring training games. You're not really looking at the results of these games. You're looking more at the individual performances. There aren't a ton of position battles per se that are taking place throughout the course of the Mariners roster because of the trades that were made, whether it was sending guys away or bringing guys in. The Mariners are pretty lock and set at their starting positions throughout the course of their lineup, you know, barring injuries, of course. But one of them, and probably the main position battle for the Mariners, is the third base position. Will it be Luis Urias or Josh Rojas? Speaking of Urias, on the 20th, we found out that Luis Urias had come in to training camp with some shoulder inflammation and was shut down from throwing. Tests came back good, and Urias was able to resume work with infield coach Perry Hill on the 19th. He's still expected to be good when opening day comes around, despite coming into camp with that inflammation. But there is some concern. I mean, I understand it, considering how much of this lineup could be, affected by injuries, just considering what Jorge Polanco has dealt with, what Mitch Haniger has dealt with, what Mitch Garver has dealt with. So I understand some of the frustration and some of the panic, but I'm not quite ready to just go crazy and be really, worried about life because of this. If he's going to be fine for opening day, I won't worry about it. We have other injury-related news. On the 24th, we found out that Matt Brash was slowed down from throwing. Brash was dealing with, quote, an unspecified arm issue that he'd prefer not to disclose. He did throw 2 bullpen sessions to begin camp. The hope is that he can resume his throwing program this upcoming week. So, unfortunate to hear those 2 pieces of news for the Mariners. You're obviously hoping to not deal with those injuries coming into the camp or during camp as well. We do have some good news. I know that since it was canceled and we don't have it anymore, folks have been looking for Mariners Fan Fest because it was a really fun environment for them. You get to meet the players, you get to be up and close and personal with them. You get to go on the field. Some have attributed to the amount of concerts that T-Mobile Park will host and so on and so forth. The Mariners are, though, doing something that somewhat resembles it or that might take its place. It was announced also on the 24th that the Mariners will be hosting the opening week warm-up. The quote is that you can enjoy behind-the-scenes access at T-Mobile Park, the chance to meet Mariners legends and future stars, plus more. So it will take place Sunday, March 24th at T-Mobile Park. Tickets are $10. It's free for kids that are 14 and under. Parking is $10 at the Mariners Garage while space lasts. It lasts from 11 a.m., starting at 11 a.m. for season ticket members, and at noon for all fans, with it concluding at 4 o'clock. You can see some of the highlights here on your screen, some autographs, photo ops, and meet and greet sessions with alumni of the Mariners, future stars, probably some folks from the Rainiers and the Aqua Sox, and the Mariner Moose, of course. You get to go in the bullpen, run the bases, so that's cool. That's nice. Sitting in the dugout also works out. Sort of fun things. You get to run the bases. You get to sit in the dugout. There's also a few things that fans don't traditionally get to do. Normally, we're not allowed to show you inside the clubhouse, but you can tour the clubhouse. You can go into the Muckleshoot interview room where they have sort of the bigger announcements and such. Not so much, all of the post-game access normally. And then other premium spaces like the Diamond Club. You can try the value menu for this upcoming year. That's the first opportunity to do so, as well as the Mariners Sidewalk sale. I'm interested to see what that might be. I'm hoping it's something like a previous gear and such, and not so much just, a sale of normal merchandise, but you never know. To keep going with the team-related news, on the 23rd, the team signed right-handed pitcher Trevor Kelley and infielder Brian Anderson to minor league deals with non-roster invitations to spring training. If Anderson makes this year's roster, he does earn $2 million. It'll be interesting to see about that as well. Adds more competition to the third base spot. And I'm sure, if they could, the Mariners would like to solidify that spot as opposed to platooning it, just considering how they've dealt with platoons throughout the course of the last few years. So that's what we've got when it comes to some Mariners-related stuff. In terms of team news, it's fun to hear about the opening week warm-up. Did I get that right? Opening week? Oh, I did. Look at that. The opening week warm-up. Not so great to hear about the injuries to Urias and Brash, hoping those are things that are able to clear up within the week, and so that those guys are able to get into action this upcoming week. But, we've got some time before we get to opening day 31 days exactly until opening day, March 28th, against the Boston Red Sox. So outside of that, we've got a whole lineup of spring training games to look ahead to this upcoming week. So we'll look into that, starting with February 26th at the Cincinnati Reds. That is a split squad game, 12:05 p.m. Pacific time. February 27th at the San Francisco Giants is a 12:05 p.m. Pacific time first pitch. February 28th versus the Kansas City Royals. That is a 12:10 p.m. Pacific time start. February 29th As we move over here, February 29th versus the Chicago White Sox as a split squad game as well as a 12:10 p.m. start. March 1st at the Colorado Rockies, that's a 12:10 p.m. Pacific time start. March 2nd versus the Oakland Athletics, that's a 12:10 start. And then March 3rd at the San Diego Padres, which I say at, which is kind of a exaggeration because it will also be a split squad game at Peoria. Not split squad. It will also be played at Peoria Sports Complex, which the Mariners call home, is another game at 12:10 p.m. Pacific time.